Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Go check out my website at skysworld.com. Let's talk about admiring people. Who do you admire? I can tell you who I don't admire. I don't admire celebrities just for the sake of the fact that they're well known. I could care less. I don't really get in awe of celebrity. I don't admire people who are just wealthy. You're just rich. So what if you're rich? You could lose all that money. I don't necessarily admire people who are just educated. If you just have a degree, I've met lots of people who went to elite colleges. Lots of friends of mine went that route, and they went to very expensive schools, and so what? I had people that went to schools that I could have never afforded asking me for a job after they got out. And it's like, well, but what was the point of the school? Just because you're smart doesn't mean anything. Just because you're rich doesn't mean anything. Just because you're famous doesn't mean anything. But I do admire somebody who's an example, who's really living their life as an example for others. Not that they're doing it for others, not that they're parading themselves around saying, be like me. That's not what I meant. I know that's kind of the way it may have sounded. I just mean somebody who's just doing it for themselves, but yet they end up being an example for others. And they may unwittingly be a perfect example of what a really good man is. And you may even tell them, you know, dude, I mean, you're really doing it on all levels. You're a good guy. And they'll just tell you, oh, well, thank you. They don't know what they're doing. But I like people like that. I've learned to identify people like that because I like to model others. If I'm not there yet, I can copy you. I can see what you're doing, study it real hard. I'm smart enough to know that if you could do it, I could do it. So I admire people who are living an example of creativity. When I meet somebody who's highly creative and that's like a part of who they are, they're not doing it for likes. They do it because they have to, because they got voices in their head. They have to be creative. That's it. It's a lifestyle for them. A lot of creative people are crazy, at least in society's eyes. But I admire people who live an example of that and just continue that no matter what. No matter what the news is and you're all worried about politics, there's people out there that are just creating beautiful shit, man. They're just out there creating amazing stuff, whatever it is. I admire that, and I recognize that in others so I could model that in myself. I admire people living an example of spiritual discipline and wisdom. You meet some people who are just really disciplined in their spiritual practice and their devotion, and you meet some people who are really wise. Maybe they're not so disciplined, like these Jordan Peterson types who he's actually really spiritually wise. I don't know what his practice is, but you can talk to him about a lot of different stuff, and he's going to open up a lot of doors that maybe you never thought of. And I like using religion for that way. To me, it's not just a mindless practice of repetition. Some people do that. Maybe that works for you, but I like to think about shit. That's what this whole channel is. I mean, I'm doing my best to start dialogues with people, think about stuff. That's a large part of our personal growth and our development. It goes on in our mind. It starts in our mind. And I've had an interest in spirituality for the last 20 years. And on that journey, I've met some people who are so far past me, even if it's just some of the people I've come across on YouTube, that I really admire when I run across a guy. There's a guy that I've been watching recently on YouTube, which I like. It's the Fathers of Mercy channel. This guy, Dr. David Wilton, I think that's his name. Older guy, originally from New York. And man, this guy's right on time. I'm not a heavy-duty Catholic, but he's by far the best Catholic priest in America. I say that with all confidence. And I admire people like that who are really living it. I admire people who are an example of clean living. So you might just be a regular guy with a regular job doing your thing, and you just happen to not be a drug addict. You happen to not be an alcoholic. You happen to be able to live a very clean lifestyle, and it's natural to you. You're not struggling with addictions or anything like that. Man, I admire shit like that. That's nothing to you. I look at that as strength that I wasn't really able to have. I mean, I have that now, but even now, I get tempted. I have to remember my 12 steps and all that shit. Even though people that know me know I'm not a big 12-step guy, but you know what I mean? There's a process of addiction, of beating addiction that you go through, and you may have to remember that process, just like with any other process. I was taught how to weld at a TIG weld years ago. That's a funny story I should tell. I should tell that. That'll take me a minute. I can't tell it now, but that's a funny story. And there's a step-by-step process. There's the basics, and as you become a proficient welder, you may not necessarily be thinking about the process and the way that you thought about it when you first learned it, but you never forget it because you have to remember the basics. Never throw out the basics. Very often in my life, when life gets complicated, when life feels like it's falling apart, when I'm at a loss, when I'm feeling lost, I always go to the basics. I start every single day the same way. I'm starting anew, and I'm going to start off mind, body, and soul. And it doesn't matter if I won the lottery or if I'm on my way to court and this is my last day free. I'm starting every day the same. And I admire people that have this routine of clean living. It's a lifestyle of clean living. It's part of who they are. I admire people like that. Physical fitness. You may not admire people who are physically fit. I do. And I can recognize if you're on steroids, you know, I get it. You still work out. You didn't get that way just by doing steroids. You still have to be in the gym all the time. But I lose a little respect for somebody who's a steroid goon because I know that's cheating. I could be massive. I have a good genetics. If I were to take some steroids, oh my God, I'd be a goddamn monster. There's veins just pulsating on top of muscles on top. I could easily be there just on a few cycles. Oh man, it would be so easy. But I admire somebody who's physically fit, lean, solid. You can tell they have that core strength. That's what really matters. You're worried about your physical fitness. Make sure you have your core tight, rock solid. You'll need it as you get older. You don't want to be one of these old men who breaks his hip, you know, trying to walk to your car. But I admire people who can stay disciplined like that. I'm pretty disciplined. 6 days a week in the gym. And I see people at the gym every day who got me beat by a mile. They work out harder than me. They're there more than me. They're there when I arrive. They're there when I leave. I'm doing my best. But I admire people who are physically fit and make it a lifestyle. Another one that I really admire is loyalty. You notice I didn't say truth. It's not that I don't admire truth, but I'm from the streets. It's a part of me that'll never leave. Some of you don't like it, it's too bad. Sometimes I don't like it either. I don't like a snitch. You admire truth. You might like a snitch because his conscience says, even though I took an oath, even though I will burn in hell for all eternity for what I'm about to do, I have to tell the truth. And they go in front of the judge and they start singing. That's not me. I admire loyalty. A loyal motherfucker is what I love. I love loyal people, men and women. I love loyal motherfuckers. I admire that shit. Talking about it brings a fucking tear to my eye. Being around people like that makes me fucking proud to be around them. People who are loyal, when I see examples of loyalty, I see a loyal dog, it warms my heart. I love loyalty. It's all just food for thought. Thanks for watching.